But let's move into the next segment, and that's 11 through 20 for our starting point guards for each NBA team. How we are going to do it, if you are just joining us now, Ricky's going to give his 11 through 20. Dave's going to give his 11 through 20. I'm going to give my 11 through 20, and then we'll give our cumulative 11 through 20. If you are still listening through this full thing, either on YouTube or Blog Talk Radio or iTunes, sorry for restarting this, but obviously we put them on YouTube, and some people just jump in the middle of it. But Ricky, start us off, 11 through 20.
So starting off at 20, Cleveland Cavalier, Colin Sexton. Then at 19, no longer a Laker. He is now a New Orleans Pelican, and that is Lonzo Ball. Then the Pistons starting point guard, Reggie Jackson at 18. Rajon Rondo of the Lakers at 17. Pat Bev of the Clippers at 16. Then Ricky Rubio of the Phoenix Suns at 15. Ja Morant, rookie point guard for the Grizzlies at 14. De'Aaron Fox of the Kangs at 13. Chris Paul of the Thunder.
There you go.
Think about it for a second.
There you go, Chief.
At
You got
12.
it. You got it.
And then Jamal Murray of the Nuggets at 11.
He got them all. This man.
Dave, 11 through 20.
At number 20, I've got Lonzo Ball. At 19, I've got DeJounte Murray. At 18, it's Patrick Beverley. 17, Justice Winslow. 16, just straight disrespectful to everyone, it's Ja Morant. At 15, I've got Ricky Rubio. At 14, Eric Bledsoe. 13, Jamal Murray. 12, Malcolm Brogdon. And 11, Trae Young.
All right, my 11 through 20. I got Colin Sexton at 20, Lonzo Ball at 19, Justice Winslow at 18, 17, DeJounte Murray, 16, Ricky Rubio, 15, Pat Bev, 14, Jamal Murray, 13, Eric Bledsoe, 12, Chris Paul, and 11, Malcolm Brogdon. And for our cumulative rating, that comes out to 20 being DeJounte Murray, 19, Justice Winslow, 18, Lonzo Ball, 17, Ja Morant, 16, Pat Bev, 15, Eric Bledsoe, 14, Ricky Rubio, 13, Jamal Murray, 12, Malcolm Brogdon, and number 11, CP3. Let's first start off with the guy that is in the 15th spot. I had him at 13. Dave had him at 14. And Ricky dropped Eric Bledsoe all the way to 22.
Yep.
What's up with that?
Had nothing to do with Eric Bledsoe. Like,
Well,
after looking at it, I was like, you know what?
You put him below Dennis Smith.
Yeah, it's because for me, the guys that I have in front of him, Dennis Smith, Colin Sexton, Lonzo Ball, even like a Ja Morant, even a De'Aaron Fox. I'm looking for most years, I look at those young guys and I get hyped for those young guys. And I expect them to have really good years to where, is Bledsoe probably a little low in my rankings? Yeah, but can't change it now. So that's where he's going to be. That is literally what it is. Like, I was looking at it and going, I could probably have him a little bit higher, but you know what? Fuck it. It's how it laid out.
You correct me if I'm wrong, but you also had Lonzo Ball like 5?
Number 10
in his rookie
in
year?
2017.
Yeah.
Number 10.
This is rookie year?
Yep.
I mean,
I loved Lonzo, though.
you overrate
He had him
guys.
above Kemba.
And you look at Derek Bledsoe from when he joined the Milwaukee Bucks. This is a guy that has helped this team win. This is a guy that has consistently been out on the floor. He's used to have injury issues, but he's been massively healthy for the Bucks this year. This was the number 1 seed. And yes, he wasn't his greatest. I think it was in the postseason. He had a rough slot.
He had some rough postseason games.
Yeah, but you look at the past 2 years, and this is a guy giving you 30 minutes, 47.9% from the field, 33.3% or 33.8% from 3, which is a little bit below average, but clearly it's fine for this team. This team's one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the league. He gives you 5 assists a game. He gives you boards. He gives you a great defense on the other end, and near 17 points a game. This is a guy that we talk about him being LeBron Jr. before. I think he's not only just an all-around decent player, but I think he brings a lot to this team as it comes to culture. You see that him and Giannis are best buds. I think it gives Giannis a guy to kind of bounce himself off of because there isn't a massive leader in that locker room. Giannis has to be that guy. But where is he learning it from? And I think Eric Bledsoe has been a guy that's been able to teach him how the NBA works and how to be able to grow. And obviously, it's funny thinking of a 6'2 guard, 6'4 guard in Eric Bledsoe, teaching a 6'11 freak in Giannis Antetokounmpo how to grow as a leader. But I think that what Eric Bledsoe brings from a leadership standpoint is so huge, and the fact that this has been one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference deserves a plus bump outside of even just what he brings stat-wise, because he brings a lot to this team. He brings a lot to moving this ball around, and some of these assists just get taken away from the actual offense that he plays in. I think Eric Bledsoe is, a guy that is absolutely perfect in the spot that he is, and he fills a role just like DJ Augustine did. Eric Bledsoe fills this role perfectly for the Bucks.
Yeah, I mean, I just look at yet again like some of the guys like the Lonzo.
What role does Dennis Smith Jr. fill?
Well, I mean,
this dude's trash.
With Dennis Smith and Colin Sexton, those two are basically I expect better years out of them this year.
What has Dennis Smith showed you, though?
I think they're going to take jumps this year, and this is when
Why?
I come into my rankings of like a year older. Like you see the workouts that these guys are doing. I think that Dennis Smith will take a jump. Lonzo Ball on this Pelicans team, I think it's going to be something special.
I didn't bring up Lonzo Ball.
I know,
or Colin
no,
Sexton.
but I'm saying like that's one that people could say, well, Bledsoe's above Lonzo.
Why is Reggie Jackson above?
That's the one where I'm like, okay, looking at it, if I was to retcon my rankings, I could change that. But like Rondo, what he's going to bring to that Laker team, him and Pat Bev are kind of the same situation. Is they're more defensive in my mind, but what they are going to bring to their teams is going to be so much more key, especially because the Bucks are going to be in the playoff hunt, but Giannis and even like a Chris Mid or a Budenholzer are going to get most of the praise for them even going to the finals, where we could look at the Clippers and the Lakers being like, AD, LeBron, Kawhi, PG, they're good. But, man, the defense that Rondo's been playing in the playoffs, or, man, Pat Bev's defense in the playoffs has really taken them above. And that's why that's kind of where mine fell out.
Bledsoe didn't do that, obviously, last year when it comes to defense in the playoffs. But he definitely fills that role that Beverly and Rondo does. And I think the offense that he does bring is greater than those two guys. That's why I have him above them. Reggie Jackson's absolute shit. He should be below Eric Bledsoe. That might be a little bit too harsh. Lonzo Ball and Colin Sexton, yes, those guys are very young and still provide upside. I had them ranked the same as you, 19 and 20, but those guys are not on that level yet where they're able to put up the numbers that Lonzo Ball, in Lonzo Ball's case, Eric Bledsoe is able to do offensively, at least when it comes to a scoring standpoint. And Colin Sexton does not play near a lick of the same amount of defense that Eric Bledsoe does. So those guys are, not balanced players. And Dennis Smith Jr. is bad. He's just Reggie Jackson, but worse. So I don't.
I just expect him to take a jump this year.
For what
we'll
reason?
Have to wait and see.
He has not shown you anything.
I
feel like it's going to be again a year older. You're year two in the Fizdale system, or what you want to call the Fizdale system. Year two of being with Fizdale. I think that this Knicks team, with the veterans that they've brought in, did they bring in the veterans they wanted?
Power forwards.
You know what? I think that being around these veterans is going to help Dennis Smith Jr., and he's going to take will it be a monumental jump? Probably not, but he's going to be better in 2019.
He's going to lose his starting job.
To who?
Lonzo Trier. They're just gonna. I know he's a 2. It doesn't matter.
I don't know. I think Eric Bledsoe should be higher on this list. He'd be higher than Ricky. He should be higher than Ricky Rubio.
I mean, he's at 15 in the overall rankings, which is a little bit low for him. But he did end the year on a really low note. In the playoffs, he notably got crushed.
What, three lower than he was last year? Last year was at 12.
Yeah,
for us.
But he was good. He was the same player that he was last year. No one took a jump up outside of De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like,
it's Trae Young, so he should move at least down 2.
Cumulative-wise, he's at least in the ballpark of where he should be.
But yeah, he disappointed against the Raptors. He disappointed against Boston. So I'm not horribly shocked that the lasting remaining image in my mind is that. I mean, and that does that weighs in pretty heavily when you get Kyle Lowry down, Danny Green, and he got shut down. Mm-hmm. He had 5 games where he didn't score double digits.
It's true. No, it's true.
He shot awfully from the field. But overall during the year, he's a pretty good player.
Yeah, I mean, their whole idea was to slow down Giannis.
Yeah.
And when they did that, that put a lot of pressure on Eric Bledsoe and the whole rest of the team. Yep. And he did not show up, which is absolutely true. But even then, Kyle Lowry didn't do that for how many years in the playoffs, but he was probably still a top 10 point guard. So, I don't know. Let's move now to the next guy, John Morant. I had him the lowest at 21. Ricky, you had him the highest at 14. Dave, you had him at 16. Ends up being at 17. My whole thing is, I know people love him. I know people already think he's going to be great. I think he's going to be great too. I just can't give a guy who has not put on a uniform yet that high of a ranking. I think the only player that I have done that with is Luka Doncic. And Luka Doncic, we already knew he was going to be the shit. That guy was absolutely already an NBA pro, and he absolutely backed that up. So right now, I am not in that position to be able to put him at that level. To put them at that level, where I think I put Luka Doncic last year, is to say that he's going to put up 27 and 5 or whatever Luka put up. I don't think he'll be able to do that.
I mean, you did have Ayton pretty high last year, too. You had Ayton at 12.
Centers suck. That's the thing. I think that's how I defended it, was that centers suck.
Yeah, the number 1 pick last year was there, so.
But he wasn't the number 1. He was number 2.
Ayton was the number 1
Ja.
pick. Yeah, Ja was number 2. So, I mean, none of us had Bagley high, so it's fair. Fair.
I mean,
I don't know.
Why so high? Why 14
Because he's
and
John
16?
Morant, and he's on a team.
Who else do the Grizzlies have? I'm going to use
Jays.
that. Like, who else do they have on that team to where it's like
John Morant, Josh Jackson,
Yes.
Jandon Jark,
All young-
Jaron Jackson Jr.,
all
Jonas
these
Jonas Valanciunas.
Jalen Judas, all these young players except for Jalen Junas, where it's I expect him to just will the Grizzlies be good? Probably not. But he's gonna run rough shot stat wise to where it's like we talk about the Murray State and it's like, oh, it was Murray State, but he's gonna do the same thing in Memphis. Like he's gonna put Memphis on the map with his style of play this year as a rookie, and he'll probably be the rookie of the year.
There's a good chance he will be. I mean, Zion will get all the attention out the gates.
That's right. Fucking Zion's rookie of the year. Ricky, don't get ahead of yourself.
Zion's amazing.
Thank you for mentioning the
But
great one.
stat-wise, I think John Morant's got a chance to just do disgusting things because, like Ricky said, like this Memphis roster is like a bunch of guys with young potential, and the talent's there. They just have to figure out how to put it all together. So I think this year you're going to see a lot of interesting games and a lot of standout performances by John Morant, where it's just like, look, I mean, he's the only guy who had it going tonight, and that's fine. And he's going to put up ridiculous numbers his rookie year.
He is cracking the top 20. Last year, Trae Young, Colin Sexton did not do that. Trae Young was at 25. Colin Sexton was at 26. The previous year, we did have Markelle Fultz and Lonzo Ball crack the top 20. Funny enough, Ball was in front of Fultz mainly because of Ricky Widmer. And then I think in 2016, we did not have a rookie crack the top 20. We horribly laid this out, so I can't even tell. But I think the only guy that was a rookie in our rankings was
2016?
No, we didn't have a rookie in there. So the only two guys to crack the top 20 are, well, now 3, Markelle Fultz, Lonzo Ball, and John Morant. Let's look back now on where Markelle Fultz is. He's not even this ranking, and Lonzo Ball still where he was at. So I don't really think he's deserving of that ranking yet. I think we need to see what he can do. Obviously, we saw what he was able to do in college, but we talked about this before. He was in a worse conference. He was not playing NBA-level talent. Not saying that he won't be decent. You know, Murray State was a fine program. He was able to show that he was good in the tournament. But we don't know that he'll be able to handle all of the pressures of the NBA. And putting that much pressure that he's going to be the 17th best player, better than Justice Winslow, who obviously had a pretty decent campaign already, an all-defensive NBA player in DeJounte Murray. Yes, he's coming off an injury, but still, Rajon Rondo, who is an NBA champion, I think is a little bit high for John Morant.
It might be a little bit high, and my homerism of John Morant might be fading in a little bit here from the entire draft.
Which is weird, because for the second straight season, like, Dave was huge on Luka. I had Luka higher than Dave in the positional rankings. Dave, highest on Ja. I have Ja highest in the positional rankings.
Well, you're the Ronnie 2K of this podcast. You're all amped on rookies.
I love rookies, and I think that Ja's going to do great on this team.
But he's a rookie.
Rookies can do great things.
Okay, there has been one guy in this entire history of this podcast that has done great things, and that's Luka Doncic. And we were under on him. We put him at 14 last year. That was under, for sure. But that's the only time we've ever been wrong about a rookie.
I played it conservatively. I'm
Dave
always
didn't want to
conservative in my
jinx
rankings. I will never go all in on a ranking.
So where do you think that in the end of the year, where John Morant can be, where do you think he'll end up? Because you're saying he's being conservative.
I think he maybe can get up to like 12, but like I really think that the top 10 of this list is so crazy close. Like, you know, you guys I have Trae Young at 11 right now, and that shows a shit ton of respect for Trae Young being able to run an offense at the NBA level. His absolute confidence in his shot, being able to take 40-foot threes and make them in people's faces, is just laughable. But the fact that he's also a turnstile is why he's not in my top 10. And I think to what John Morant can do as a athletic monster out there, and the comps that he has had coming out are incredible players who were absolutely dominating since their rookie year. So I'm like, is there a chance he gets into the top 10? I'll give it a 5% chance that next year he'll be looking back on this and be like, yeah, John Morant's top 10 player.
Trae Young dropped 20 and 10, so I doubt he's going to be top 10. He's not even cracking your top 10.
He only plays one half of the ball. He's literally statistically the worst defender in the history of the NBA.
Okay, John Morant won't be that bad, but is John Morant that good defensively?
I mean, he's not that bad defensively.
But is he that good defensively?
Average is better than the worst historical defender in the history of the NBA.
Do you think John Morant is average at defense?
I would say so.
I think he was average in college. I think he's going to be below average in the NBA.
What do you think his stat line is going to be his rookie season? 2 questions. That's one of them.
13,
what's his stat line?
13, 8, and 4.
8 rebounds, 4 assists for
8 assists.
Oh, okay.
4 boards.
Okay.
I mean, he's going up against Jandon Jark and Jared Jackson
teammates.
Jr. and Jonas Valanciunas. Those guys are going to be fighting for boards. Those guys are going to be grabbing boards. I mean, unless it's a Russell Westbrook situation where they're clearing
That's
the
one
lane.
of his comps. I mean, was
we
Brody.
don't know what it's going to be like. What if he doesn't grab a single rebound because Jandon Jark's out there flying over the rim?
At 6'8", he's going to get all up in there.
Dude's got a crazy bird.
He does.
What do you think? What's going to be his stat line?
Probably closer to 18.
No way.
7 and
way.
6.
Okay.
18?
18?
Question 2. How many wins will the Grizzlies have with Ja at point guard?
Under 30.
Give me a number.
26.
Okay. What about you? What do you think? Why are you looking at my screen?
I'm trying to see how many wins they had last year. Can you?
Last year?
10. They sucked.
I'm like, Dave, I'm not looking at last year's
That's what I was
statement.
looking for. I was like, please give me last year's number.
They
I
had
need a basis.
33 last year.
35.
Okay.
Had 33
So-
wins last year?
Yeah, they did.
They kept Marcus on the team for half the year. What
the fuck?
They had Mike Conley on the team for the entire year.
The reason why I ask, and if he has the 18
Probably 33.
that Dave mentioned, I think there's a good chance that, John Morant could be in the running for, the Zion question is rookie of the year, but I'm looking at rookie point guards that had phenomenal seasons. And Kyrie Irving, his rookie year, won rookie of the year in 51 games, didn't even play the full season, had 18 and a half, 5 assists, which is less than what both you said that Ja would have, and 3.7 rebounds per game. And that Cleveland team only won 21 games that year. So,
it's okay to be a loser.
If Memphis has more wins
Rookie of the year is all about stats. It doesn't matter about wins.
No. I'm saying, not the rookie of the year part. Bring it into this. If Memphis has more wins than what Kyrie was able to bring to Cleveland and has the same amount of points that Kyrie had, but more assists and maybe the same amount of rebounds at 3.7, that's one of the seasons that on lists, they say one of the top 20 point guard performances for a rookie.
I'm taking my win total
be
back,
in
by
that.
the way. I'm rolling my win total back to 29.
Okay,
Yeah,
but still
the
29
over
is
at
not...
Caesar's 25 and a half.
Yeah.
So I said 26.
I'll go 20, 28, 29. Right below 30.
I think we could look back at it and say, wow, he had a phenomenal, historically great performance for a rookie.
I don't think he's going to be that good enough of a shooter to score 18 points. I don't think he's going to have that outside shot to put up 18 that you need to do in the NBA today. He's not that great of a free throw shooter, so that's also going to hurt when he goes to the line. And then along with that, he is pretty wiry. He's not really maxed out yet. And defense, I think, is going to hurt him. So while I don't think he's going to be bad, I think that we're definitely going to be talking about him as a promising starting point guard next year. I think he will not be consistent enough to be making that big of strides, and that's why I have him at 21.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah. Let's move to the next guy, DeJounte Murray. I know Spurs fans love him, and for good reason. He was on the All-NBA team in 2017. Unfortunately, tore his ACL last year. Not able to be on the team last year, but now he is back, and we have him starting at point guard. We sure about that, or is he starting point guard, or is he shooting guard? What do you think?
Really? Shooting guard?
What do you think? I mean, 6'5".
Yeah, no.
Big dude.
Point guard. He's a point guard.
I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
I mean, they have so many fucking guards. They
Well,
have,
that's the thing. You
they have
got
Derek
Derek
White.
White.
They have
Bryn
Forbes.
Forbes.
They have
Lonnie Walker.
Well, Lonnie Walker's more of it too. If I'm decided between those two.
And they
But
got John's
DeJounte at the
boy,
one.
Quindary.
Quindary Weatherspoon, Patty Mills.
He might not be making the team yet.
He's going to be down in the G League.
G League.
He's going to be a G Leaguer for sure. But no, I
is
do
DeJounte
believe,
1?
Yeah, 100%, because he doesn't have a good enough shot to be a 2.
Okay. I mean,
Like,
we get
that's-
everything wrong, so I just want to make it clear.
Yep. No, you can clarify. That's fine. He doesn't have a good enough shot to be a 2. That's his biggest holdback right now. Is he lives in the paint. Like, he's got a beautiful mid-range floater, and it's pretty, but he needs to, like, this past year, he had to have been working on a shot. Like, I'm expecting him to come out and actually shoot something better than 29% from 3. Like, he needs to actually have something respectable to draw attention out to the outside because, look, I get it. You're in San Antonio, and the 3 ball is not king there. You know, we're living in the 1950s, and that sweet 2 ball, you, DeMar DeRozan, LaMarcus Aldridge, you're living in the mid-range. But that's okay. I need you to take a couple more steps back, shoot the 3 every once in a while, just get some respect so that way when you do blow by guys, it's not like an astonishment and there's not 5 guys in the paint waiting for you.
Yeah, the reason why I had him where I put him at 17, just above Justice Winslow, Lonzo Ball, and Colin Sexton, just under Ricky Rubio and Pat Beverly. The reason why I did that is, I mean, if we're comparing defense, I mean, this is his bread and butter.
Yeah.
It's him and Pat Bev. I think he's got the edge over Pat Bev just because of his youth, but because he's coming off an injury, I got to dock him a little bit, and he's not the leader that Pat Bev is. So
True.
I think that's the biggest thing is he's got the size over Pat Bev. I think he's got the quickness over Pat Bev, or at least he did when he was younger, or not injured.
Yep.
I think now I just have to knock him back a little bit just because of the injury. How do we expect him to perform coming off this injury, Ricky? I mean, it is an ACL tear. We've seen guys come back before. This isn't like a Kristaps Porzingis ACL tear where he's a 7'3" monster.
And it happened in the preseason last year, so he'll have basically an entire season's worth of rest.
So, I mean, how do you expect him to come back? Do you think he's going to be hampered at all?
I mean, the thing I know you say, like, oh, it's not a Kristaps Porzingis type of a thing where he's not as tall as Kristaps is, but
Well, we've never seen a guy that big tear his ACL before.
yeah, I mean,
So-
with me, I think this is in my realm. I kind of think back to the Derrick Rose days where Derrick Rose missed an entire season. Of course, his happened playoffs instead of early in the season. Derrick Rose in the first round of the playoffs, but he missed the entire 2012-13 season. And when he came back that second year, of course, he got injured again, but in those 10 games was not the exact explosive Derrick Rose that we saw. And that's the big question. That's why I have DeJounte a little lower on my list, why I had him at 24, is he's the one of the prove-it guys for me, where because he's coming off the injury, are you still going to have the mobility to do everything you want to do on the court? Is he going to be able to drive to the rim like he wants to? Is he still going to be able to be explosive in driving to the rim? Because he doesn't have that outside shot that he can lean on and kind of bank off of if he can't be as athletic as he was pre-ACL injury.
Yeah, but Dennis Smith doesn't have to prove anything. Go Dennis Smith Jr. That guy rocks.
Dang. I mean, DeJounte's game is all about, like, he's a slick player. Like, he is not explosive Derrick Rose, rely on my athleticism.
Yeah, he's not exactly
That's
Derrick
not
Rose,
his-
but, like, as a point guard,
He's also
coming off
playing
of
on
a
the
knee
slow
injury.
Spurs offense.
I mean,
Exactly. Like, dude, he is a crafty, like,
Run and
shifty-
crawl.
I'm just saying, like, I don't think the injury is going to hurt him as bad as it did, like, a Derrick Rose, because he doesn't rely on that. Defensively, yes. If his lateral movement is taking a hit, it's going to hurt him a lot because he goes from an all-defensive second team to, you know, above average, which, I mean, yeah, there's some drop there, but, like, maybe if he has a serious problem, I think he's still young enough. I don't think there's any issues. I think he'll come back, be 100%. And hopefully he worked on a shot during this entire offseason.
Well, let's move to the next guy that also needs to get healthy and work on a shot. Lonzo Ball. Ricky, you're really excited about him.
No, yeah.
What do you see in Lonzo?
With Lonzo, it's more of like, so because the difference in injury, because I know people are going to say, well, you were lower on DeJounte, why aren't you lower on Lonzo? Lonzo didn't miss, like, it wasn't an ACL that missed the entire year. And also, I think change of scenery is going to be really good for Alonzo. Not playing with LeBron, not having to deal with the LA headache, being able to play in New Orleans. He gets to play with some similar guys that come over from LA with him. And then he gets matched up with Zion. Like, let me see those alley-oops for days of just Lonzo chucking it up, Zion going through the air, and then just slamming it down. Can't wait for it.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. And I think that the thing that I'm most excited for, at least with Lonzo, is being paired next to Drew Holiday and seeing those two play defense. I can't wait for that show. That's going to be an unstoppable two-guard attack there defensively.
Yeah.
And the only concern I would be is, yes.
Can Lonzo stay on the court?
Well,
There's
no.
that. He has been hurt every year.
Transition-wise, it's going to be something that's super exciting when it comes to the alley-oop. But how will he actually do in true half-court basketball? Because he hasn't been able to show that he is still that same Lonzo Ball that we saw in college, facilitating-wise, in the half-court. We haven't seen that guy yet, so I need to be able to see that from Lonzo Ball. And also, clearly, the big thing is everyone loves to make fun of a shot because it's bad. Is it still bad? And can he hit it from a decent rate?
No.
So that's the thing.
Like,
I answered those for you. Yes, his shot is still as bad. No, it's not getting better.
Well, and with the assisting, his rookie year he wasn't terrible. He had 7.
It's not about the assist numbers, Ricky. It's actually about how the offense flows when he's trying to run the offense.
The
in the
flow
half court.
took a hit last year because I would say Lonzo rookie year was better than his sophomore year, not just because he played a little bit more games, but because the LeBron issue added it. Like when LeBron came to that team, how they ran everything changed, and I don't think it fit Lonzo being in a LeBron team like we thought that it wouldn't be no problem, and it was a problem.
That boy can't shoot. Like he can't shoot, and that's okay because he can defend well and he can facilitate in a quick offense, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
Like Lonzo's bread and butter is touch passes. That man sees, he goes. Like it is in and out of his hands so quick compared to a lot of the point guards in this list who dominate the offense. They control the pace of it, and they spend average dribbles. Like if you look at, no one is close to the Westbrook and the James Harden level, but like Lonzo Ball is in the like complete polar opposite. Like that man, it's like it moves out of his hands like it's on fire.
Yeah.
And that can be helpful if you constantly have that up tempo offense and that ball is moving. But with that team that's around him, I don't know how well that's going to work out.
If Zoe was playing in like a 180-foot court, like if you just doubled the size of the court, dude would be unstoppable because you give him so much space. He can find lanes incredibly. He has such great vision. It's just adding that into the half-court section of the offense. And when things slow down and when things get a little bit tighter, that vision gets a little bit worse. Clearly, obviously, guys are less open.
Yep.
But I also think that he doesn't trust his instincts enough yet. And I don't think that was anything with LeBron or anything like that. I think the game is just getting tougher. He wasn't able to transition that from college to the NBA yet. And I'm still thinking, that's definitely, capable for him to do. I think if he's able to do that, that's a next step that he can even climb up the ladder a little bit. And then he's just in Ricky Rubio level. But he's a better defender. And maybe he's not as good as a passer, but I would take Lonzo just because of his defense and because of his length.
He's longer.
I think that's the next step for Lonzo is be a better version of Ricky Rubio.
Yeah.
Or at least be a bigger version of Ricky Rubio. And then after that, it's can you add that shot? And then it's like maybe you're getting into Malcolm Brogdon territory. That's what I think.
Adding a shot is nowhere close to 50, 40, 90.
No, I know, but I'm saying, but I'm saying it's going to help you improve, and I think he can be a better defender than Malcolm Brogdon. So that's what I'm saying. He could be.
Right.
He needs to climb that ladder, and I think that's what this year needs to be. He needs to show that he can climb that ladder and start moving up because he's been pretty stagnant in where he's been because of injuries, because he's had to deal with two changing teams, two drastically different teams. I think that's what we need to see from Lonzo this year is just be able to step up that ladder.
I do see his assist numbers ballooning this year, though. Being able to play with Drew Holiday and adding in JJ Redick out there as one of the best sharpshooter threes, Zion, those two guys. B.I.
Jackson Hayes
does
too.
His own thing. Jackson Hayes,
that's the thing,
like nobody's business.
I want to see Lonzo, Drew, JJ, Zion, and Jackson Hayes.
Threes and oops.
Exactly. I want to see you run as fast as you can. Let Lonzo grab the board or Zion.
Fuck,
both
7 seconds or less. We're talking 4 seconds. 3 seconds or less.
3 seconds or less. I want to see the fast, quick twitch, at least, quick decision makers out there, or at least just athletes out there. I want to see what they can do.
Yeah, ball hits the board, everybody's running. 5 men run.
Don't even look back. Did your team grab the ball? I don't care. 5-on-1. Lonzo's getting dunked on.
And I know it's a football thing, but you say 3 seconds. If Chip Kelly was a basketball coach, that'd be his wet dream. It's 3 seconds and you're done. That's your transition.
Let's move now into my transition, and that's going to be Malcolm Brogdon, who is transitioning to a new team. There's two guys that are transitioning to new teams. Let's talk about them here. Malcolm Brogdon and Chris Paul, the two guys that top our list here, 11 through 20. 11, Chris Paul now going to OKC, and Malcolm Brogdon going to 12. I had Chris Paul the lowest. I think Dave had Malcolm Brogdon the lowest. Ricky and I actually had Chris Paul the same length, or same level at 12. Let's have Dave, you defend Chris Paul, and I'll defend Malcolm Brogdon. Or I'll have Ricky defend Malcolm Brogdon. So, Dave, you put Chris Paul at 8. Ricky, you put Malcolm Brogdon at 9. Defend them.
Go ahead. I'll let Chris Paul age before beauty with Chris Paul.
Chris Paul is
very
much
good
better
looking.
looking than...
Yeah, he's a very good looking man.
It's just he's older than Malcolm Brogdon, so he's got to be age.
Regardless.
That's fair, but Chris Paul is better looking than Malcolm Brogdon for the record.
You know what
Teach
else
their
he
own.
is? Better facilitator, better defender, better floor general, better leader. You know, just a couple of betters. I'm just tossing that out there because he is.
I mean, he also led away Russell Westbrook from, or he led away, Chris Paul from Houston and led away Blake Griffin
You're
from
really
Los Angeles
murdering
Christians. I'm saying
Blake
he
Griffin,
drives
he
people
did not
away.
get
He
did-
drives
did
people
not
away.
get along well.
James Harden and him
James
also
Harden
did not,
and
get,
him did not get along well.
He also leads himself to the injury report.
He does get hurt quite often, but it's those small nagging injuries. It's not a big injury that's going to take him out. Every year, come on, it's like 58, 58, 61, 74, 82? 62.
And then that 82 year was last year, right?
No, the 82 year was when he was 29 on the Clippers.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
What did he do in 2017, 2018?
17, 18 was 58 games.
Okay. And then he also missed the two most important games that year, right?
He missed is a pretty important game.
Yeah. So,
in the playoffs.
this guy is not reliable when it comes to actually being out on the floor.
Playoffs aren't exactly where Chris Paul shines. If you haven't noticed, Chris Paul's he played really well up until the point he got hurt. That seems to be a common theme with him. Plays really well until he gets hurt. Hasn't seen the finals ever. Mm-hmm. Will he ever?
No.
Unlikely at this point, unless he joins a team after this amazing contract wraps up.
Still wouldn't work.
Go hunting for a ring. Dude's a good shooter, though. He's a good shooter. He's a good passer. He's a great defender. Literally, he's like one of the, there's a reason he is in the upper echelon of the NBA. There's a reason we talked about him for years being the best player to not get a ring active in the league. He was. Yeah. Yeah. Seriously, do you remember the early days?
Well, it had to be. It had to be
what?
after the first Miami ring, right?
Sean.
Oh, no, I'm trying to
I
figure
want
it
a
out.
what if series for the basketball side of what if the Lakers Chris Paul deal went through.
I think that's already been made.
Where's the NBA at now?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go watch that. Because that
At
changes
what
grip.
point was he the best player to not win a ring?
It was on the Clippers, definitely.
It had to be after LeBron won his first one. Had to be after Dirk won his.
Yep.
So we're looking.
So from 14,
2012?
15,
Kawhi has had one. Never mind.
Kawhi won one early.
Yeah.
Before he's even better than Chris Paul.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it had to be that range. But
Yeah.
But then KD. Was Chris Paul ever better than KD before KD won it? No.
No.
KD was better scorer. Chris Paul was better player.
Disagree.
I don't.
Kevin Durant was MVP in 12?
He was good.
He was
real good.
MVP. He was the best player
He was
in the
real
league.
good. Fine.
Kevin
You want
Durant
to see real good?
Kevin Durant's
I'm just
been
saying-
better than Chris Paul since 2010.
I disagree completely with that.
Kevin Durant was
24
dropping 21.
2014, he was the MVP.
Really?
Yep. NBA Most Valuable Player 2014.
What did he do in 2012?
In 2012,
Wasn't he hurt?
Was that the year he got hurt? No, he played 81 games. 28 points.
Yeah.
28 points on
He scores
51,
really well.
41, and 90. He literally had at 24 at 2012 after going to the finals a 50, 40, 90 scoring 28 points per game. Get the fuck out
Dude's
of
the
here.
best scorer of all time.
Get the fuck out of here that Chris Paul was better than Kevin
better
Durant
all-around
that year.
player.
Disagree.
Yeah.
Hard disagree.
You can disagree all you want, but the fact that Chris Paul had fucking double-digit assists for 7 years in his career, steals up there every year. He averaged more than 2 steals a year for almost a decade.
Kevin Durant was at 1.5
That's a big difference.
that year.
Over 2 is a big difference.
Okay, but KD was at 1.5 and then 1.5 blocks. So KD was doing it on the defensive end. And he was also the better scorer. And he was also leading his team to NBA Finals. And then the next year he won the MVP.
Then he became the worst player in existence because he took the hardest road.
Kevin Durant.
Kevin Durant had to hop on the train and get his free fucking ring because he's not talented enough to win one on his own.
But even after that, Chris Paul wasn't the best player to not have a ring.
I mean, you could say the same about LeBron.
Kevin Durant.
I would.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant was the best player to not have a ring. Chris Paul was never
I disagree.
in holder of that title.
I disagree.
Malcolm Brogdon.
Opinions.
Yeah, with Malcolm Brogdon. Like,
why is he better than Chris Paul?
so here's the reason
Both
why.
guys also don't have a ring.
In my sense, I'm going to be a little disrespectful to Chris Paul. Like,
Do it.
I know what you fucking done over your career, but at this point, I'm just waiting for you to retire. Like, that is where I'm at with Chris Paul, where it's like, is he going to do anything great in OKC? He'll have like a good season. They may or may not make the playoffs. Probably won't. And then he'll just fade off into retirement after a couple years, unless he gets traded, which I don't know who wants that contract. No, at Malcolm Brogdon, the thing I really like about him is, yes, he was injured at the beginning of the playoffs, but like Dave said, well, it's not about the playoffs for Chris Paul. It's about the playoffs for Malcolm Brogdon because he is a matchup. I don't want to say matchup nightmare, but he's close to it with what he can provide, especially defensively. And when he came off that injury in the playoffs, it was like double digit, had 20 by that fourth game. And I can't wait to see what he does next to Vic. When Vic comes off of his injury and Vic's at the 2, Brogdon providing great defense at the 1, maybe allowing Vic to exert more energy on the offensive side of things. I think that he's going to be a very good piece to this Pacer team and be more impactful for them than Chris Paul will be for any team he plays on the rest of his career.
What is your expectation, let's say stat line wise, for Malcolm Brogdon in Indiana?
I mean, this year's going to be a little tough because, I mean, we don't know exactly when Vic is going to come back. But
I think December.
I would say at the least, I mean, what, 14, 3 and 5? 14 points. I know he had about 15, 16 in Milwaukee. 5 boards and then 3 assists. I think most of the work is going to be what can he do defensively and can he keep that 3-point margin at the 42 and floating around there. 42, 43 is what he was shooting.
I honestly think he's going to take a step up because he's going to see the ball more than he did playing next to Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah.
He played a great role there, and I think that he's going to continue to play a great role once Vic comes back. But even then, I still think that he provides such a good leadership and such a solid all-around game where I can't trust that Chris Paul is going to be out on the floor.
Health is one thing.
And what is he going to do in OKC? Because now he has to be the guy again, scoring and leadership-wise and defense.
He was always the guy leadership-wise.
He's going to have to take...
That's what he's been doing his entire career.
James Harden was the guy in Houston.
No, James Harden was the guy when Chris Paul went down, but James Harden was on the team first. Chris Paul was a leader. Chris Paul was the head of the players' union for a reason. Like, yeah.
If I look at those past 2 seasons, I would say James Harden was a leader.
James Harden was a better player. Does better player mean leader in your dictionary? Is that when you look it up?
But I would
player leader.
No, but I would say.
Well, that's why you're asking me.
But I would say that I don't think they latched on to Chris Paul that way.
Yeah, no, I don't think that the team's offense flowed through Chris Paul entirely. They definitely had their James Harden's going to become the Messiah and put up 37 points a night and just do his thing because Chris Paul was hurt. Like, I get it. That was the offense they want to run. Chris Paul still had a very good tenure with the Rockets. Still had a very good time with Clippers. And then you go all the way back down to the Hornets days. Good player. Like, all the way through and through. Like, it's
in the past. He's, 36 now?
He old.
And now we're coming up on Malcolm Brogdon, who's 27, entering his prime.
But this is he's Brogdon. Now on the Thunder. They have no expectations. He can do whatever he wants.
But will he be able to do that?
Yeah.
It's staying on the floor wise.
He could take games off now.
So
like the
I can't argue
load
that.
management game.
So
I can't argue that.
So let me ask you this. You think Chris Paul should be, he's not in the top 10 obviously. He should be in the top 10 because of what he has done, not because of what he's going to do this year.
Yeah, tell me why he's better than De'Aaron Fox.
Because he has a track record. De'Aaron Fox made a jump that not many people make, and then the question is, can De'Aaron Fox sustain that? Like, De'Aaron Fox was doing that on a bad team.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean that De'Aaron Fox is going to come back this year when they have more mouths to feed? They've got an even deeper, more veteran-heavy roster Like, do you expect De'Aaron Fox to continue to put up ridiculous
But those are
numbers,
all
or do you think those are going to stabilize?
Those are all complementary roles. Those were complementary pieces to fill around De'Aaron Fox. Those weren't pieces to take away from De'Aaron Fox. Those are guys to plug and play into the same system.
I understand.
And just to fill around De'Aaron Fox. So
stats don't mean better player, though. That's you guys are hung up on stat hunting.
But I'm not saying stat-wise. De'Aaron Fox is quicker than Chris Paul.
Yep.
He is a bigger player than Chris Paul. He showed that he was a better shooter than Chris Paul last year, and that is stats, but also stat-wise showed that De'Aaron Fox had better numbers than Chris Paul from deep. Also, I would rather have De'Aaron Fox driving to the rim than Chris Paul because his body won't break down. Yes, Chris Paul is still a better passer, has better vision than De'Aaron Fox, and he is a smarter player than De'Aaron Fox, but I would say that defense is probably the same, and I would probably give an offensive edge to De'Aaron Fox.
All right, that's fine, man. Like, he wasn't that much better of a shooter. Like, we're talking 36 to 37%. Like, it ain't that big of a deal. And Chris Paul was taking 6 threes a game. De'Aaron Fox was taking 2.9. So, tomato.
I mean, the other
Chris
thing
Paul was also in an offense that fed shooting threes from the outside, getting open shots. And he was shooting 36%.
I don't know about open shots. They were just taking threes regardless. Like, there was no prejudice against that three.
If it was open, you're taking a three. And Chris Paul's a smart player.
And if it wasn't open, you were taking the three.
But also, Chris Paul's a smarter player.
He's one of the smartest players in the game.
He wasn't doing that every single time. He wasn't one of those players.
Yeah.
He wasn't James Harden.
Look, I get it.
PJ
De'Aaron's
Tucker.
young. He's exciting. He's quick. He ate that ass. Like, there's the legacy of De'Aaron Fox already. But I'm sorry. Like, I'm not going to put him ahead of Chris Paul for one good season.
Yeah, I mean, I also look.
Final thoughts.
I look into it too, and I just got to fact check myself before I
we don't need this.
go ahead and say this. I look at Chris Paul, and it's like, what, two straight years you were, or not years, 2 straight teams you were basically, I want to say, run out of town, because like with the Clippers, it was Chris Paul and Blake. Who got traded first, Blake or CP3?
Chris Paul demanded a trade.
That's the thing.
Didn't get
He
run out of town.
demanded
He
it.
demanded a trade. There's a difference.
In my
was
mind,
done
saw
dealing
the
with
writing.
the head coach.
Yeah, but with me,
GM.
He also saw the writing on the wall of, if this continues, obviously they're going to move on from me because Blake's the younger player. So demanded a trade, went to Houston, and now again, it's after it didn't work with James Harden and Chris Paul, he got ousted out of town. So it's like, for me, there's 2 straight teams. It was supposed to work and didn't. And you can say demanded a trade, he didn't get run out of town. I think he still did. Gets run out of town of 2 straight
You're
teams.
completely wrong, though. You're 112% wrong. He did not get run out of town from the Clippers.
Okay.
He went, this is a bad situation. Doc Rivers should not have this much power. He can't figure out how to build a fucking roster. There's no reason to stay on this team. I'm going to get out of town and go play with my friend.
So
and
if
a team
he,
that has the best chance to win a championship.
Okay.
And that's what he did. And then on that team, they went ahead and they were the number 1 seed in the West.
I'm saying,
Took
and then they won
I'm
another
saying
50-plus games the
if
next
he
year.
would have stayed on that Clippers team, would they have moved on from CP3 or Blake Griffin first?
Probably would have moved on from Chris Paul
And
if
that's,
they
to
had
me,
not
where
signed
it's
that
like,
contract, because he
that-
was
that-
eligible for a large
That's
contract.
what I was saying. He was eligible, got that contract. Do you think that the Clippers would have signed him to that deal before trading him to Houston and kept him on the team?
Yes.
I don't think they would have.
I think
that was the reason why they traded him, because they could get away from that contract and they didn't have to deal with that contract. They could tear it down and they didn't have to worry about it. I don't think they would have signed him to that contract.
I think
he would have become a free agent.
I don't know about that. I don't know. I still think it's ridiculous to think of him as like an unsuccessful player, because
I never said he was unsuccessful.
no, like Ricky's like, he got ousted from 2 towns for not being a winner, and it's just like, no, they won so many fucking games in Houston. Like, this was a very good team. Had they not run into the buzzsaw of the second greatest team ever, what are we talking about?
Who's the greatest?
Come on. You're in Chicago.
All right.
Learn your fucking lesson.
Let's wrap
But
this
seriously,
up.
like, think about that. Houston could have had 2 championships. Like,
But why didn't
the
they?
Spurs could have had one too, and Kawhi would have never left.
Why didn't they?
because they ran into the second greatest team ever.
No, but what's the main reason Houston did not?
Because CP3 got injured.
Because CP3 got injured. If CP3 did not get injured, they would have been in that finals. And CP3 is not a guy that I can trust being on the floor. De'Aaron Fox, I can't trust. Malcolm Brogdon, I can't.
Really?
Because he just
You
got
can
injured.
trust-
Did you hear words?
The
I
first
said,
guy?
De'Aaron Fox?
Yeah, you're going to trust the 22-year-old?
I trust that he can play. Did De'Aaron Fox have massive injury issues?
No.
Lingering injury issues for the next,
He doesn't.
past 4 years, 5 years? That's what I was saying. And Brogdon has had one spurt of it last year where it was a fairly serious injury, but something that he was able to come back and play fine off of.
Yep.
I can trust that those guys will be out on the floor. I can't trust that with Chris Paul. Anyways, let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Maybe I'm underrating Chris Paul. I think the first one that we ever did, I was like standing Chris Paul. I was like, this guy deserves to be better. This guy is like an all-time point guard. Now, how the turntables have turned. I think the first one I was very much behind the whole CP3 train, like Dave was. But now I'm coming off him a little bit just because, again, like I've always said.
He was number 3 for like 3 straight years for us. 16, 17, 18.
Did I rank him higher, though, than one of you guys? I think...
you and I were both at 3.
Maybe?
And then the 1 year in 17, you had him at 3 still.
I think it was 17. I think that was the year I was going off about Chris Paul. And then, you bumped him up. I don't know. I remember one of the years I was just like, y'all disrespecting Chris Paul. Anyways, let us know your thoughts down below. Maybe we are disrespecting Chris Paul, but we'd love to hear what you think.